I think normal should be what you want it to make of it. I mean, health is such, I mean, our body is one of the most, it is the most amazing machine that's ever been constructed, whether by nature or by God or whatever you want to believe. I mean, your neurological system is something that AI will never be able to duplicate. I don't care how smart it gets. So the fact to sit there and think like, oh, I'm 40 years old, I'm going to be tired no matter what, it's complete bullshit. You know what I mean? Like, figure out why you're tired, let your body heal it. And again, so I'm an osteopathic physician, which is basically an MD mixed with a bunch of different types of osteopathic maneuvers. And our biggest thing is, number one, your body can heal itself.
If you're overwhelmed with chronic health symptoms and still don't have answers, you're not alone. I'm Dr. Jaban, and on Redefining Wellness with Dr. Jaban, we'll be exploring root causes like Lyme disease, mold, and parasites, and I'll guide you with simple and practical steps towards real healing. Today, I'm here with Dr. Ivan Rusilko, and I was going through his bio, and I was just like, good Lord, this man has done a lot of things. He's an MD. He's a Mr. USA 2 different times. He's traveled the world. He's been in Men's Health, GQ, Muscle and Fitness. He has a clinic down in Miami working with lifestyle, the name of it being lifestyle, but he's seen anyone from NFL players to chronic illness, doing chelation to longevity. So today we're going to be on the topic of mercury and heavy metals and how this has been a blind spot in medicine. So thanks for joining me today.
Hey man, thanks for having me, dude. Love what you do. Really impressed by it. So it's always good to share minds with like-minded people.
So man, you've got such a colorful background. Why are we talking mercury today out of all the things you can talk about?
Oh, it's crazy. Again, like, you always want to find the most unique thing and kind of go after it. That's why I always sat there and said, my dad always taught me, it can be people are bigger and stronger and better looking than you, but always be the most interesting person at the table. So that's why all those weird things are going on. But it's always unique to sit there and see, when you talk about medicine, everybody's focused on testosterone and growth hormone and peptides. Nobody really thinks about like the hidden issues that are causing all the problems that are coming up: erectile dysfunction, poor sleep, anxiety, depression. And, I started doing what I do in Miami Beach in 2010. So I've been at this about 15 years before this stuff got popular. And it's a situation where, as of right now, with all the different labs and the plethora of information I have, we've tested about 80% positive for mercury toxicity throughout that 15 years. And when you take a look at what mercury toxicity does and what it predisposes you to, everything from cancer to autoimmune to neurodegeneration, everything in between, it's a situation that I think, the word epidemic and pandemic have been thrown around very loosely over the last 5 years. I think mercury toxicity is probably one of the biggest epidemics this country has. And it's actually one that I believe was kind of interjected on us, whether on accident or on purpose, with the whole dental amalgam filling aspect that, we as kids, get your mouth full of all this metal. And it turns out that was mercury combined with silver. And that's definitely not a good thing. So I've kind of focused everything here in my practice on finding all these, the actual causes of problems, not just putting Band-Aids on hemorrhages by fixing small things. And mercury toxicity is probably one of the biggest things that I treat patients for, whether they have a chronic condition or they're about to get one. That's why I think it's one of the most important things I think needs to be brought up in today's traditional world.
I love you're talking about this. I love posting to social media and then just trying to break people's brains a little bit. And when you see mercury go to a dental office, it comes with a skull and crossbones on it. And then after 20 years of this being in your mouth and it's removed, they put it in a container that has a skull and crossbones on it. And if you drop that on the street and it spills and spreads out, they call it hazmat time. But it's safe in your mouth. So this is a really important topic. And just for you listening, it's not rare. How many people do you know when you look in their mouth? And I know we're not all looking in each other's mouths, but do a little study on your friends and family. How many have a dark spot in the back of their tooth?
Of course, man. Back in the 90s and 2000s, I mean, that was the go-to. I mean, like, if you did, put it in there, you could probably get a cavity. They're literally giving out like candy. It was crazy.
And raise your hand. Did you get a flu shot? Did you get a
steroid pills and shit? Like, that was insane, man. I'll tell you what.
Or I love the clients that come in and they're like, yeah, when I was young, and I'm 39 now, so we're talking like, let's say 70-year-olds. They're like, oh, I used to break a thermometer and play with mercury.
Play with it, yeah.
It was fun. So mercury is not that uncommon. I mean, we're not even talking about like food sources right now. I'll let you dive into where they can get it. But as a doc, I run a lot of testing, and I don't really ever see this pop up when, let's say, somebody's medical doctor did a test on metal in them because they weren't feeling well, and somebody requested mercury, and it's negative on just like a straight in the serum blood panel. So how are you finding this?
So again, I always say where there's smoke, there's fire. So symptomatic testing, you can kind of tell. Number one, if they walk in with a mouthful of metal, looking like, like a robot, you already kind of know where it is. I've never really tested anybody who hasn't had a high or very abnormally normal high level of mercury who has fillings in their mouth. Number two, again, I live in Miami Beach. I mean, sushi is paramount to everything down here. So, I mean, the two biggest ways you get mercury are through either organic or inorganic. So they're either slapping silver to it and, stick it into your mouth where you're literally breathing that mercury vapor in every single breath you take, or you actually eat it through the actual food that you can get. Again, tunas, the bigger fishes are where you're going to find more of it. But again, it's literally in everything. And I always tend to argue with everybody, give it about another 6 generations, I think mercury is not going to be harmful to us at all. I mean, if you take a look at all the other metals on the earth, zinc, magnesium, copper, all of those things are on the crust of the earth. So us as a human species have been around it forever. Now, all of a sudden, 100 years ago, we start pulling it out of the ground, and, me as a Pennsylvania farm boy are now eating sushi. Those are two ways that we really, my body's never been exposed to it. Will people from, Hawaii and whatnot, they'll come in and they eat a ton of fish. They have no mercury. Because their body's used to getting rid of it. So I think, give it some time. Eventually, genetics, of course, always trumps everything. Will eventually weed out the toxicity of mercury. But I think the biggest steps now are just taking a common sense approach and being like, why are we putting something that comes with skull and crossbones in our mouth and then worrying about other things like, nonsense like cholesterol and stuff that's causing us, issues? We're literally poisoning our youth. Because again, you aren't getting fillings really, or, when you're older, you're getting it during your pubertal years. And then take a look at the rise in autism and ADHD and depression and all this other nonsense, that you see around the same time, that, 90s and 2000s when they were really going hard with it. You'll see a direct correlation with it. And it's kind of, a scary thing to sit there and say, is this, a COVID vaccine all over again. Whether your views are positive for it, that's something that our government did to us. With a smile. So it's a situation whereas mercury, I think, is something that we can totally avoid. It's something that's environmental. It's something that we can control now and get out of our system rather easily too. It's just that nobody talks about it because it's not cool. It's not flashy. It's not Ozempic,
As a provider focused on personalized care, I don't have time to chase down lab results or manage delays. My patients want answers. And in a busy practice, waiting 5 days or more just isn't ideal. That's why I want to tell you about Access Medical Labs. They are one of the largest specialty diagnostic companies and are powered by some of the most cutting-edge lab technologies. Access tests over 1,000 biomarkers, from routine chemistry to specialized tests like advanced hormones, food sensitivities, heavy metals, and more. And they deliver next-day results. Yes, results in 24 hours. No long waits, no stress, just simple, smarter, and faster testing. Plus, this flexible collection option supports all kinds of practices. Whether you're an independent clinician, managing multiple locations, or treating patients virtually, if that kind of speed and flexibility sounds helpful, visit accessmedicallab.com/get started to claim 10% off your first invoice and discover an infinitely better lab experience. Oh yeah, that's for sure. So I want to go back to, you said genetically we might overcome this. It might weed it out. Now, because I work with a lot of really sick individuals that have mercury toxicity, among other things, is it that we're going to genetically overcome it, or is it going to make the people so sick that have weak genetics to it that they're not going to procreate?
Very good point. And you're right. I mean, again, when you look at it, genetics and the whole survival of the fittest thing, we are a species. We're not above the laws of science. And people are predisposed. They're getting all these different shots. They're getting all these different things. They're eating horrible food. They're eating poison, whatever. That eventually weighs to the epigenetic aspects. I don't care if you have the best genetics in the world. I mean, like, if you consistently pollute your body, it's going to catch up to you. So the aspect is, will these people eventually not be able to procreate, or they'll try to procreate and it won't work well? And eventually they weed themselves out. And again, that's a very weird thing to say, but as a common sense, as a physician, as a scientist, that's something that's definitely on the table.
Yeah. So when you got these people coming in symptomatically, what type of labs would you be looking for? What type of markers are going to signify I need to go deeper dive on mercury?
No, for sure. So there's several different ways you can do it. You can do it through blood testing. You can do it through urine. And you can usually do it through hair testing. So hair testing is more of that's my last one, just because that's going to show an over time barometric. What I usually do, because I do such a very in-depth blood test, so it's blood and urine. So I'll check the blood for mercury, arsenic, and lead, which are the 3 common ones we find. And then I'll do the urine for a complete gigantic panel. And again, it's nice because Access Medical, the people I do my podcast for, as well as the lab company I use now, has basically let me set up such a really unique heavy metals and a nutritional heavy metals too, because a lot of people don't understand when you start to chelate something out, you can't just selectively pick mercury or cadmium or arsenic or lead. You pull out all the good shit. Okay. So the problem is a lot of people sit there and start chelating out, and all of a sudden now they're deficient in zinc. Their iron's through the floor. They're anemic. So that's where, when it comes to mercury, it's a very easy thing to get rid of. I mean, first and foremost, stop, however you're getting it, stop. Take your fillings out, stop eating fish. But the way you have to get rid of it's very simple, but it's a very complex answer. And a lot of physicians don't really understand it. So they'll just sit there, let's get it out of your system now. You're pulling all the good shit out too. So you got to kind of back up and understand what to put back in, how to monitor it. And as you get that out, you're going to start to see patients who have things like chronic fatigue syndrome or fibromyalgia and all these other bullshit diagnoses that people don't really have an answer for. Symptoms will at least get better because it's an environmental or something that you're actually doing. It's not genetic. It's something you're putting inside your body that's at the top of the pyramid. So it trickles down into everything. It's not like, oh, I have erectile dysfunction. You don't get erectile dysfunction from the environment. You have something, whether it's anemia, dehydration, or something that causes it. So when it comes to mercury toxicity, it can be the cause of everything from, depression to Parkinson's and everything in between. It's just sitting there and understanding, number one, diagnosing it correctly, which again, I like, blood and urine just as a preemptive, where there's smoke, there's fire. I'm going to see if it's there. And then on the back end, knowing how to get rid of it safely, effectively, but also manage, how that patient's going to feel. Because again, a medical detox is not fun. And, all these juice cleanses and all this other bullshit, people, oh, I did a cleanse. No, you didn't. You got scammed into drinking celery water and thinking you're doing a detox. A medical detox isn't fun. And pulling mercury out of your system slows down everything. It slows down how your liver works. You can get headaches. You can get, issues when it comes to cramps if you don't do it right. So again, the clearance of mercury is almost just as important as finding it.
Well, let's talk about that. As you go through, you're going to run urine, you're going to run blood tests, you're going to get markers, you're going to be testing this. And I know there's a lot of ways people talk about removing mercury. I like that you pick on the smoothies. I'm like, celery juice, first of all, is it anti-inflammatory? Helpful sometimes, sure. But we also have oxalate issues. I do a ton of mold toxicity.
Huge one. That's a huge one we do. Yeah. Smart.
And then all of a sudden now you have all this oxalate floating around. So be really careful if you're listening. Celery juice, just be careful with it. Be careful with cutting out any type of food, by the way, because if we just go vegan for 6 months, oh my gosh, I've seen so many.
Get me started on that. That's a whole nother talk.
Systems. So yeah. So how are you detoxing mercury?
So the biggest thing we do, and again, like I said, we do one of the most in-depth blood tests in the world, because we're not just, mercury is, one of the 700 markers I'm testing for. But when I suspect something, that usually somebody comes in with a symptom. And again, you can kind of pinpoint just by how they look or their feeling of their story. You ask them a couple questions. So I'm not only detoxing mercury, I'm augmenting hormones, I'm instituting peptides, I'm normalizing nutrition, I'm helping with senescent cell clearances like zombie cells and things like that. I'm working on mitochondrial health. So it's a really in-depth process, and kind of like, what you do at your clinic, it's functional. So your body has to function right. You can't just detox when your body's broken. So what we're doing is we're not only doing it, so we do an oral chelation, usually EDTA, and a couple other things I put into it, or the IVs. And again, you can do the EDTA IV. It's a long IV. It's kind of, patients don't like sitting there for that long. I do a very unique high dose glutathione, where we go up to 6 grams of glutathione, which is actually beforehand we do, I call it liquid money. It has a lot of different of the multi-minerals. We do a lot of vitamin C, B12, B complex, all that kind of stuff in there, taurine, carnitine, to help with the actual clearance of the mercury. And then we institute the actual high-dose glutathione at the end. It works great. The highest mercury I've had was a 45 on a 10 scale. So that's pretty toxic. And we've actually cleared that within 2 months. And that's probably the biggest case we've had. Patient came in, Parkinson's, all kinds of weird stuff going on. And the amount of symptoms that we did just by focusing on that was spectacular. Because again, you're taking a stress out of the system. Diagnostic testing is nothing but identifying stresses in the system. That's all it is. I don't care what you're testing. You're looking for stresses in the systems and what the stress causes. So if we can identify as many stresses as we can, whether it's heavy metal, whether it's chronic infections, whether it's hormone depletion or whatever it could be, I think that's the most important thing. It should be a stacked protocol, a stacked program to kind of address everything, not just one thing. But again, there's our special situations where they're, little old ladies or whatever it could be. You can't overwhelm the system. So our biggest thing is hydration. which I think should be the paramount for every physician, is to encourage hydration. So the first thing we do is obviously get people on the correct water, as well as the correct type of chelating agent, and then we kind of go from there. But it works great. The symptoms we see, people who have cancer, like I said, autoimmune dysregulation, all kinds of different things. We've done damn near into stuff that shouldn't be done here, just off of basic common sense medicine.
So let me grab some information here. My clinic, my practice, my podcast, Redefining Wellness. All right, so let's redefine some medical terms here. What is, because you've already said bullshit diagnoses, fibromyalgia, IBS, chronic fatigue, but you just talked about Parkinson's. You said a ton of symptoms went away from Parkinson's from an IV chelation. What are these diagnoses? What are they? Are they a thing? Are they something you can treat, or are they caused by a problem? Because I think that's the piece that in medicine needs to be redefined for me. I have my opinions. I'll throw those out there, but take the lead here.
No, I love it. Again, like Parkinson's, again, it's still like, is there some type of plaque that goes in a specific part of the brain? It was funny. They did a study, and I forget which year it was, but they tested people who had amalgam fillings, and their predisposition to actually get it. And they saw a 1.6 increase in the amount of people who had fillings versus who didn't. That's a huge number when you look at the amount of people with Parkinson's, which is the second leading neurological disease in this country. That's a massive amount, and that's no fooling around. When you take a look at things like depression and all this kind of stuff, depression is not a diagnosis. It's you don't feel happy, or basically the basics of it. But what's causing that decrease in happiness? Is it poor sleep? Is it a bad lover? There's so many environmental aspects that go into these things that you can't really diagnose anything directly. And again, you make a very, very good point. Like, things like fibromyalgia, cystic fibrosis, fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue syndrome, all this stuff. Doctors don't know. And they'll be honest, I have no clue what's doing it, but they aren't testing things like this. Like, like even with your history, like with Lyme, the amount of symptoms that you probably got treated with, he's got chronic fatigue syndrome, or he's got issues when it comes to this, that, or the other. And they put you on a pharmacopoeia of a bunch of medications, which all have side effects that you have to take more medication to get in. That's how they hook you in. So it's a situation where I always like to look as far upstream as I can, and anything environmental, whether it's an infection, whether it's something you're eating, or whether it's something you're putting in your body, is the first and foremost thing that all physicians, I don't care if you're a cardiologist, a proctologist, or whatever, everything in between, need to focus on first. And this is why things like hydration, nutrition, stress reduction, and sleep, which are 4 things all patients can do at their house for free, should be the basis of all medicine. And then you build up from there: hormones, nutrition, cellular health, and all that kind of stuff.
I love to put things into categories, try to make it simple, try to make it teachable. So for me, it's let's redefine these symptoms that we're talking about. It's a symptom, right? So a symptom of pain, which is called fibromyalgia, a symptom of brain dysfunction called Parkinson's, a symptom of fatigue called chronic fatigue. Let's redefine these. So there's things that I think cause problems: toxins, infections, just like you, traumas, which would be the things you mentioned, like a bad lover, a bad relationship, a lost job. That can cause depression, sure, but that's a trauma to your system. And there's lifestyle, right? So if you eat a real crappy diet, you just said, I don't like protein, I'm just gonna eat carbs all day. Yeah, you're gonna get sick. If you don't eat enough food, that's stressful to your body. That's gonna cause a problem. That's lifestyle. You don't drink water, you're drinking toxic water. It gets toxin or dehydration. So these are things that cause problems. So for me, redefining medicine or redefining health is, we have a cause that's followed by symptom profile. So that's the effect. And the result of what you and I are doing is identifying those to give the result of resolution.
Exactly. No, you couldn't be more right. And again, I thought that's the definition of common sense medicine, straight up. And the bad thing is, common sense is not common anywhere in this world anymore, especially in medicine. And it's a situation whereas you have to see, like, and again, I know we had gone back and forth about, putting a Band-Aid on a hemorrhage. And I think that's what traditional medicine is. Traditional medicine is basically, helping people prolong their life with no regard to the quality of it. I always say lifestyle medicine, functional medicine, whatever you want to call the industry that wellness is about the augmentation of life. So you're alleviating symptoms that patients have acquired throughout a year or a lifetime of either poor decisions or genetic decisions that were forced upon them. And it's the purest form, I think. And again, I think diagnostic testing for me is the most important thing that a physician does. So I love to hear that you do the same thing. And identifying what it is, because I can treat somebody for testosterone deficiency all day. I mean, I can keep dumping testosterone and blah, blah, give him a testosterone of 3,000. But if he has mercury toxicity, more than likely that's why his dick's not working. You know what I mean? Like, so it's a situation where you have to see what's causing it. Maybe his testosterone is low because of the mercury toxicity. Maybe he has fatigue every day because he has Lyme disease and nobody's ever diagnosed it. So I mean, you hit it on the head. Everything is a symptom unless it's the cause. And that's what people don't realize. You know, Parkinson's is not a cause. It's a symptom. You're right. You know, chronic fatigue, all this other stuff, they're symptoms of it. So finding the cause is paramount to actually being a proper physician in this field.
Just need to redefine what a diagnosis really is. And that means you got to find the problem, somebody.
Exactly.
It's not idiopathic, whatever. One time I had a doc send somebody over. He said, he didn't send, I'm sorry, the client found me, and the diagnosis the child was given, who was 7 years old, was functional abdominal pain. And I said, what's functional about this abdominal pain to make that name? And even the doctor said, I don't really like this name, but this is the diagnosis that I got to give you. And I'm like, oh. Anyway, long or short, yeast parasite gone, back to full normal health, parents happy, kids happy. So that's my thought. And I just love that you're going at mercury, because, mercury can cause so many things. And you've touched on different pieces of this. If you had to give me your top 5 or top 10 reasons why you would decide to do a mercury test on someone, what symptoms would you say would make that list?
I'd say first and foremost, fatigue. Number 1, number 2, brain fog. Number 3, anxiety. Number 4, depression. Number 5, sexual dysfunction. And then I would go even more abstract, and then you can sit there and say any type of chronic issue that's never been solved. So something that's ongoing. You always have it. Always have a sinus issues, or always have something. It could be mercury. Check it. You know what I mean? Like if you've gone through the pharmacopoeia of treating something and you haven't checked heavy metals, why not? Then again, sleep disorders, I think is another one. It's different than insomnia. Then I would sit there and say weight gain. Again, if you mess up, one of the biggest things mercury does is it really messes up your actual mitochondrial rhythm with that. So if you start disrupting how ATP, or adenosine triphosphates, produce, you're basically taking the energy from your body to do everything, fight cancer, propagate neurons. I mean, all these different things. If you take away the ability for a mitochondria to work, you're crippling your most important aspect, which is your energy production. So I think anything that could be along the lines of, or even if your endurance is off and you're trying to exercise, all these things, so long story short, any symptom is when you should check for mercury. I'm being facetious, obviously. But understanding that there's a lot of things out there that people are on so many different medications for, they just suffer with, just going forward with it, that a simple blood test or a simple urine test, however you want to do it, find somebody who's going to actually just check for these things. And again, lead, tin, cadmium, there's a lot of other heavy metals out there. Mercury is just so apparent because of the amalgam fillings, as well as the prevalence of sushi in today's age.
With how common symptoms have become today, I love doing these podcasts and have this conversation of what normal should be, right? Like, I'm going to ask you this question because everybody's comparing themselves to the people around them. And they're going, wait a minute. So having allergies is a problem, because you mentioned allergies. Having some fatigue is a problem. Not sleeping through the night and feeling rested is not normal. What is normal, so that people can compare themselves to that? So they're like, oh, maybe I should go get some testing.
So I think normal should be what you want it to make of it. I mean, health is our body is it is the most amazing machine that's ever been constructed, whether by nature or by God or whatever you want to believe. I mean, your neurological system is something that AI will never be able to duplicate. I don't care how smart it gets. So the fact to sit there and think like, oh, I'm 40 years old, I'm going to be tired no matter what, it's complete bullshit. You know what I mean? Like, figure out why you're tired, let your body heal it. And again, I'm an osteopathic physician, which is basically an MD mixed with a bunch of different types of osteopathic maneuvers. And our biggest thing is, number 1, your body can heal itself. Number 1, that's the first thing we're taught day 1. Number 2 is structure governs function. That's why things like HVLA and adjustments and stuff, especially with what you do in your clinic, I find one of the best forms of medicine you can possibly get for that. So those two principles right there is that, yes, you might sit there and say, oh, as we get older, maybe our brain doesn't work as good, and that's our new normal. But age is strictly a decision. And again, like, especially in today's society, the amount of stuff, that the knowledge and the different modalities, you can choose to do it. It's just if you want to invest in yourself. Unfortunately, this industry is not a cheap one. Hopefully one day insurance will come around and this will be more mainstream, and we'll stop having people, bend other people over when it comes to pricing on certain things. But people understand this is a very expensive industry to be a part of as a physician. Or as a healthcare practitioner. And it's a situation where hopefully this becomes more and more prevalent, but there's certain things, especially education-wise, and actually, making sure the patient is educated, not just the doctor, that simply drinking 3 liters of good water a day, I would say would probably cure 60% of stuff out there. But nobody wants, I got to pee all the time. Fine, sit there with your chronic fatigue and shut up. You know what I mean? Like, I want to fucking hear it. You know what I mean? People want an easy pill. That's why Ozempic it's a $1 trillion product because it allows people who are mostly lazy, who don't want to sit there, not eat right, do the work to get there. And I get it. Some people can't. I completely get that. But they don't want to make the effort. You know what I mean? And, health is not free. It's not a right. You are not entitled to feel good. You have the option to feel good, which is beautiful. And that's why I sit there and think like the new normal should be whatever you think you deserve. And if you want to sit there and say, well, I don't want to get up and exercise, then you don't deserve to feel a certain way. So there's a lot of, I think, a lot of responsibility falls on the patient, which is not what patients want to hear. But then again, it's also a lot of responsibility that falls on the physician to not only exemplify the lifestyle, but lead by example. And I think that's where this kind of gets into a muddled situation of you have a lot of doctors promising a lot of nonsensical shit, like very easy. Like Ozempic, I'm going to tell you right now, you're probably a class action student in the next 3 years over the stuff that it does to the metabolism for people who don't do it correctly. Just like I called the amount of cardio issues with COVID vaccine 3 years into it. So it's just a situation, sit back, look at it, and your new normal is what you want to make of it. And the sky's the limit. It's just how high you want to climb.
Beautifully said. Well, you've hit on water so many times today, saying that the right water. What is the right water?
Again, this is a very loaded question. You have reverse osmolarity, the reverse osmolarity one. You have filtered water. You have tap water. I grew up on tap water. I'm from Pennsylvania, man. I grew up on hard water. You get there, my bones were thick as steel. Again, it's kind of different. You know what I mean? I like filtered water that I can kind of make. I like to make my own water when it comes to what I put into it. So I'd rather have a water that doesn't have a lot in it. Not manipulated too much. Obviously, I don't want tap water with fluoride and bromide and all this other bullshit. And that's terrible for it. But I'm a huge fan just because, again, I'm a very active, person. I exercise daily. I'm on a lot of different supplements to kind of keep my metabolism. It's like this is my 5th shirt I've worn today. So electrolytes are key for me. So again, there's no real water on the market where it's going to get what I need. So I was basically try to make my own with it. But again, if you're going to go through it, I think Mountain Valley, as funny as that is, mostly all of my patients in Miami who don't want to drink the toxic water, as you alluded to, which it is extremely toxic. Everybody's going towards Mountain Valley. I've seen all patients; they do pretty well with it. But for me personally, I like to make my own water depending on what type of day I'm going to have, whether I need amino acids in it because I'm more exercising, or if I need more electrolytes due to the heat and sweating.
I love that. I'm a big guy on clean water because it's been something that has just been a game changer for some clients. I use for places like where you're at, distillers. If you have any sort of radioactive stuff in your water, my first step always is get it clean.
Yeah, for sure.
Once it's clean and we remove the junk, which for me, distillers remove all the junk.
Yep.
And you have radioactive water.
Berkey. It's talking about.
If you don't have radioactivity in the water, it's like, let's go with a reverse osmosis system because it'll make it clean. If you want to buy it from the store, Mountain Valley is great. I'm with you though. Like throughout my day, I wake up, I have a nice electrolyte because it helps kind of perk my brain up instead of coffee. And then we go from there. And before I want to work out, I'm going to have a little creatine with some amino acids in there. And then as the day starts to wind down, I'm going to have some lighter, more trace minerals going into my water and putting that in there. I do some things with some mitochondrial supports that I'm experimenting with throughout the afternoon that keeps me going. Like my water is literally just like, I'm going to make sure I'm getting all the things I want in it and none of the stuff I don't want in it.
It changes. Yep.
And I like the flavor. Have you ever put like little trace mineral in there? And not that it has sugar to it, but you just start enjoying having that. And then you go,
it gives you a bite. Yeah, it gives you a bite. Yeah, I know exactly what you're saying, man. That's if I kind of like it. I'm like, okay, today's the next liter of water is going to be delicious. It's going to be like whatever it could be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That regular water, like, this is boring. Where's my other stuff that I like to put in? And I'm not saying putting a bunch of sugar or, that's what I'm saying. None of that. It's like just the taste of minerals. I'm like, okay, I like it.
Yeah.
It takes time.
It reminds you you're doing something, you know what I mean? Like, which is important too, man. The whole psychosomatic, just like if you give yourself a shot, that psychosomatic aspect of it. If you just sat there and said, I got my clean water, I'm going to be exercising for this amount of time, I'm going to be jogging, I'm going to be sweating. Okay, boom, this amount of you become like a, Tom Cruise and cocktail, and kind of, you're doing it right because every glass of water should be dictated on what you're trying to do at the time. And a lot of people don't realize they think water and sleep is standard. Water and sleep are the most complicated things out there, I believe. Especially sleep. Like when you really look at how sleep works, Jesus, it's crazy. But those are two of the 4 most important things I think people need to pay attention to: is sleep and hydration.
Everybody that's listening probably has a job or has done a process where, there's these huge, really complicated things you can do. honestly, IV chelation of mercury, get a professional to do this. You're not doing this at home. You've got to go to somebody that knows what they're doing. But we all miss those things like water and sleep because we take it for granted. But just like if I'm going to dig a hole, I want to get a good shovel, or it's going to take forever. It's going to break.
Quality.
Whatever. Right. So like that simple thing, oftentimes, if you just make sure that's right, it's going to be like 90%. It's that last 10% where we got to get into the experts like you are, like I am when I'm dealing with mold and Lyme. It's all the pre-work is like literally my first entire appointment with somebody is, do you eat? Do you sleep? Are you avoiding toxins?
Most important questions no doctors or no healthcare practitioners ask anymore. Or what makes it better or worse? I mean, these things are in a basic soap note that nobody cares about anymore. It's like, what do you need? This, that, and the other, get out. Terrifying. Terrifying.
So many times I've seen people that come in, they've been to all the experts, they've done all the crazy stuff, they've hit every biohacking center on the way to me. And I'm like, you have mercury in your mouth? Oh, you do? Deal with that. And they call me 6 months later.
Exactly.
And they're like,
more right.
I feel a hell of a lot better now. And they don't even have to see me. I'm just like, that was one appointment for me to lose a patient because I said, you've done everything else on the planet. Go to a good dentist. Get that crap removed.
You couldn't be more right, man. You couldn't be more. I treat a lot of athletes here as well. And again, we found a really well-known athlete who came in. And again, you have to be careful because you can't really do too much certain things with him. But when he comes in, you find a mercury of 15. You're like, what? Just fix that. It's completely legal to do. Sit there, do this, take some chelators, oral chelators on the way out. Dude, you had a hell of a season. You know what I mean? Like, it's just a situation where sometimes the most easy, straightforward, common sense answer is the best. Just like your gut feeling. Go with your gut feeling on everything. It's the right one. Same thing with sleep, hydration, nutrition, and stress reduction, dude. And the amount of people, we also do, I was the first doctor to really do ketamine therapy in all of Florida for it. And it's funny because the amount of people that you end up talking out of somebody's life, just because of the toxic nature of them being in it, like whether it's their son, whether it's their dad, whether it's their sister, whether it's their wife or girlfriend, you have to sit there and say, the reason you have these issues is because you have not mercury, not mold, not Lyme, but so-and-so in your life. Get them the fuck out. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like it's exactly. And again, parasites don't be inside you and you'll be amazed. And again, it's a hard conversation to have, but as a physician, I have to have it because I can't sit there and say, well, you're not getting better. Sorry. Well, is that your wife yelling at you again? Dude, you almost have your blood pressure is 200 right now because you talk to your wife. You don't need blood pressure medication, and that's one of the hardest things we see too is the lifestyle aspect and the emotional health, which is tough to deal with sometimes.
Well, yeah, I mean, as you go through that, I did an entire summit series on parasites, and one of the things I always love to say is, parasites, people can be parasites too. So we got to get rid of all the parasites,
like
all of them.
You have some good one-liners, man. I'm not gonna lie, man. That's good. That's very good.
I've done 1 or 2 podcasts in my life at this point, or summits or Instagram lives, and I steal a lot of them from our friends.
Hey, man, that's what it is. The first one to get it known is the one who wins. So that's all that matters.
But yeah, it's so incredible. So yeah, it's like take your health back to the basics. Mm-hmm. That may not be everything, but you at least need to be doing those. And medicine should be logical. For most of us.
Love that.
And if we can do those 2 things, we're probably going to be successful. And this is not to say that, I mean, I get hit because my degree is chiropractic. So people are like, oh, you're anti-medicine. I'm like, no, I'm not. We need emergency medicine. Absolutely, we do. They're experts at making sure you're acute managed properly. Mm-hmm. And they're focused on giving you a quantity of life to keep you around.
Exactly.
They are not typically experts in quality of life. There's a few, but that's not your training, right? You're an MD. Was your training on quality of life?
No, again, like I said, especially for ER, you don't manage them the second they leave the ER. You're done. They're not managing how you feel, this, that, and the other, making sure you don't die. That's it. So again, it's not their job to manage that stuff. And I agree with you. There's certain areas that we need that traditional, straightforward, in-your-face thing. But the majority of medicine is just built off of pharmacopoeia. If you look at the funding of medical schools, the funding of continuing medical education by big pharma, it's baffling. And I think this whole new administration is actually kind of coming in and going after. I think they said if a medical school doesn't teach nutrition, it loses funding now, I believe. It was a new thing I heard today. I did. I spent 30 minutes on nutrition my entire medical school. And I had to go out and actually get my nutritionist degree during medical school. That's how insane it was. But I'm glad to hear they're trying to make steps towards it. And it's a shame that we had such a huge regime change and all this kind of stuff going on. But I think doctors, when it comes to and healthcare practitioners in general, nobody's taught nutrition. Nobody's taught the easy basic stuffs, which are the most important.
Here's a great way we can redefine medicine now. We need to grab a bunch of MDs and DCs and DOs. We need to get all of us to record the length of time we spent on nutrition or physical therapy or sleep, actual sleep management. To be like, I spent 30 minutes. Just do like 30 guys in a row, back to back to back. Then post that as a reel. Oh, you just start breaking people's brains.
It would break the internet, man. It would break the AMA, that's for sure.
Like, this is what your doctor knows about this. They're not an expert in this, including Kairos. Like, we didn't get trained in a bunch of nutrition. That's not our background. We got a little bit more than you guys. We got a few hours, but it wasn't months of updates. And by the way, this stuff changes all the time.
Daily, man. Daily. You go on there all of a sudden, like, holy shit, minus the diet and exercise not having to be doing cardiovascular health, which I probably, it's just that whole thing that's ever
blows my mind. All you need is a GLP-1. You don't need to exercise. It's just like, why are we telling people this? That is so
funded by Pfizer, funded by Lilly. You know what I mean? Like,
literally, if somebody reads that, the first thing that should come to my mind is, well, I don't need to read anything else this group ever published.
No, what it is, no matter where it was published, they're cancel it. I'll cancel it.
Like, let me pull up my social media and unfollow.
That's exactly what it is. But people sit there and just keep regurgitating. I always brought up the funniest thing, when it came to the actual vaccines. Pfizer paid the largest criminal fine in the history of humans. Look it up right now. You can look it up. The largest criminal fine ever paid was by Pfizer for purposely leading people on for a pain medication. 3 years later, we're giving them $140 billion to do the same thing under the guise of government fear. So, I mean, like, big pharma is not your friend. Physicians are not your friend. It's a business. People don't get that. You know what I mean? Like, people don't understand that medicine is not there as your right, and doctors and everybody else works for you. They're there to make a dollar. So if they're not meeting their bottom line, you become a livestock very quickly. And that's kind of how it goes. And it's a shame that the wellness industry had to get into almost a physical fight with traditional medicine, which me and you are wellness. And it's just like, I think we've won. I mean, I think we've delivered the knockout blow already,
Well, I think they hit themselves, to be frank.
Exactly.
I think they swung and missed and hit themselves in the face to knock themselves out, because they had the lead up until a few years ago.
Very true. Very true.
My goodness. Well, I've really enjoyed this opportunity to have a conversation and get to know you. Next time in Miami, I'm going to hit you up. We got to hang out, because you seem like a nice guy to be talking to, and we're so aligned in this mission.
Hey, man, you keep doing what you're doing, dude. Really, I appreciate it. I don't get along with people when it comes to this stuff, and I'll be honest, you're definitely doing it right.
Well, thank you, man. I appreciate you being on here, and we'll have to do this again sometime.
Rock and roll, my man.
Thank you for tuning in to Redefining Wellness with Dr. Jaban. If this episode spoke to you, please follow and share this podcast with someone who is ready to take control of their chronic health symptoms. Also, please consider leaving a review. It helps more people find the show. See you here again.